Contest go go go. In today's video, we'll be discussing about IB mathematics. I mean, what we are specifically talking about is a sequel to the previous video. We are going to talk about today on how to ace the IB maths. Okay, so some disclaimers before we start the video. First of all, this video is focused on IB mathematics higher level and it's for AA. But if you are ASL, you can just go to the next, you can just also hear it as well. For the AI, which is analysis and interpretation, um, well, since I don't have experience on it, then we will not talk about it. Okay, so I hope before we start, please click the like and subscribe button below. So, here is what our general focus is going to be today. First of all, is what is IB Math HL and what are some of the common assessments in there. And second of all, is how to defeat the Math HL. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's the thing. So first of all, let's talk about what's the math HL. Basically, math higher level analysis and approach is just simply math, but it talks mainly talks about four strands. It will give you some knowledge on pre-calculus, some knowledge on calculus, some knowledge on statistic computation, and some other knowledge on let me think on the vectors. So if you have, so it may seem very complex, but in terms of the AP wise, it will just be AP calculus plus AP statistics plus vectors plus pre-calculus. That's all. Okay. So basically, in the Math HL, the main assessment that you will have to experience is the internal assessment and the external moderated exam. So the internal assessment of the mathematics AA is that you are required to write a paper based on the given prompt. And for the you are required to write a mathematics research paper. That is, that's the topic of it is decided on you by you. And for the external assessment, you will have three papers. I don't remember why it's two or three, but basically they are calculator, non-calculator based, and the free response question. Basically, they are multiple choice and free response. Okay, so for the internal, let's start with how to ace the IB Math HL. To ace the IB Math HL, the first thing that I will suggest is that you need to first have an understanding about what those concepts are. You need to think about them carefully, like how does it work? Um, so for example, if you are doing arithmetic sequence, you need to think about what it actually is. And what I suggest is that a visualization of the graph is definitely possible. So that's why that's you can see that's why I include this image. This image is I think it's a Taylor theory, right? Taylor series like approximation. So basically, by looking at this graph, you're able to have a better understanding about how Taylor theory work. Like this is quite important because without this, you will never know how you can where can you apply the knowledge into. That's the most important thing. Another thing that you should be definitely taking aware of in the math HL is about it's difficult. It's about how it's about making doing problems. Doing problem is something that is important. You need to um doing problems, but specifically problems on each possible test points or knowledge. So for example, you need to do some arithmetic sequence questions, some geometric sequence problem, etc. Uh, it's also difficult for you to realize that. But sometimes even if you do the problems there will be the problem cases you were never expected. So therefore you also need to just have an understanding about what are the all possible question types that can be made from this topic. So one thing that you can do is that you can brainstorm the possible question types of the given topic or teaching lessons. Yeah. In terms of the textbook, in terms of the textbooks, to be honest, the official textbooks are bad. So I'm going to suggest you an online source. It's called Paul's Online Notes. Basically, Paul's Online Notes is something that is that it gives out notes for the calculus part of the IB Math HL. What I think is that this is their notes is very concise and it is very detailed, so that you are able to understand it very easily. That's what I suggest. Okay. In terms of the actual difficulty, what I would suggest is that the vector is actually the hardest because you need to like have an understanding about what they actually mean. It's very hard to interpret them. And then it's calculus. Calculus is a bit similar to vectors, except that it can be solved by doing a lot of problems because many of them, even though their concepts seem complex, their question types are fixed. For example, if we're talking about derivatives, the most common question would be optimization, absolute maximum and minimum, local maximum and minimum, and finding the derivative, which almost all problems from from the IB Math HR derivative unit are going to be those four questions. And then statistics. Statistics is it's just you need to use the formula well. And finally the precalc. Yeah, so basically those are the difficulty level of them. We are then going to talk about let me think. We're then going to talk about the IA, internal assessments. The internal assessments, first of all, I would suggest that you need to spend most of the time of doing the internal assessments on finding what you are actually doing. So basically, you need to like just read a lot of sources and find the problem that you like. Which this is going to be very difficult. I know. Like I have to when I do the IB Math my IB Math internal assessment, I often find like the topics that I find are either too easy or too hard. In terms of what specific strengths you think about is that you can just observe the nature. Basically, the mathematics that lies inside the nature, such as flowers and trees. You can also, what I would also suggest is optimization questions because like many things can be optimized. For example, if I just look around, the shape of the bones can be optimized. The water bottles can be optimized. The bag can be optimized. Optimizing a minimal surface to maximum volume is something that you also could try. This is also quite a good prompt. Another thing that I would suggest is that while you are doing Math HR, you need to first make sure that your Math HR is completed, then being perfect. So sometimes we see like people they want to find the best prompt, the hardest prompt, but the thing is that they can't. So in this case, it will waste them a lot of time. So what I would suggest is that you will just find a prompt, a decent prompt that you can get 12 or 13, and then you can just write it. Write that. Even though you might not be able to get a high enough score, like at least that guarantees you a pass. At least that guarantees you a pass. Okay. So and I think that's all for the IB Math HL. And I hope for the how to ace the IB Math HL. And I hope you have learned a lot from it. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Sorry, not see you tomorrow. See you in the next video. Bye bye.